So good afternoon. So thank you for the introduction, Eric. I was told by my table of Julie and Aaron that the people online are very festive and I can give you a hard time. So those of you that are online, I drove here from South Haven, Michigan, an hour and 15 minutes and I made it. Where are you guys? Get over here. Anyway, I heard you guys were all good, so hopefully everybody's taking that in good nature because that's kind of who I am. So on your tables, and sorry for those of you who are online, this is my email address. If you want any of these documents, you can email me. Please know I do not subscribe to any email marketing. Like, that's not part of my business plan. So I will not capture it and I will not send you an email. So I know there's always a fear of, oh, if I email her, she's going to spam me. I don't even subscribe to it. So I hate it being done to me, so I don't do it to others. So on your tables, you may have, there's a few different ones. There's actually two different ones, I should say. One, if you are a business owner, the vision traction organizer that's on the slick kind of paper may be more appealing to you. If you are a CEO of the household or maybe even a retiree, the personal plan may be of interest to you. Because I know I had a different audience here, and so I wanted to make sure that I could appeal to everybody and how it goes, but it happens the exact same way. So who made a New Year's resolution? I can't see you guys online, so you guys have to monitor yourselves on there. Who made a New Year's resolution? Nobody? Not a soul? Okay, maybe one person. Who already fell off, right? It's already the 24th. This is always some statistics to that. Some of the people had a few days that fallen off of their New Year's resolution. Who actually, if they did it, jotted it down, right? Put it on paper. Who actually wrote details to it about by the end of 2020, I will be X or do X, really starting to put some detail to it? And for those of you that went that far, who actually broke it down into smaller chunks? Anybody that said, if I want to lose 50 pounds by the end of 2020, I need to break that down into smaller chunks because that's daunting, right? So maybe this quarter, I'll lose 10 pounds. We'll use Julie's example of drinking water. If you're supposed to drink 8 ounces glasses of water to go from 0 or to drink all the beer in the world back in the back of the room. If you don't do that, you're not going to get there. You're just going to, by the end of the year, or arguably right now, you're going to be done and not have it as a goal and make it to there. And then who made it come to life? And I swear I'll get to the point of why I'm here. But who made it come to life? What does it look like? So if I am to drink 8 ounces of glasses of water, I will be healthier. I will be happier. I will be, my body will be flushed out, right? There's all these great things. I know when I go for a massage, if I do not drink my 8 ounces of water that day, that massage doesn't do as well, right? Anybody know that fact? Chiropractor the same way. Drink your water after your chiropractor visit and that will hold longer. So feeding off of Julie and what she said today. And who put it into goals? Oops, sorry guys, I bounced right past that. And who's, once they met, like what is it, again, we're talking about the water, what does it look like? So if you're losing 50 pounds, I can play with my grandkids, I can play with my kids. Sometimes we get tired by the end of the day. I can actually make it till 6 o'clock with energy, right? So the point of all this, and again, this will be tied to business in the beginning, and then I'll come back around and tie it to how you use it in a business plan. So what I do with the Entrepreneur Operating System is I work with businesses to solve basically 6 key components called the vision component, the people component, the data component, the issues component, the process component, and the traction component. So that's enough about business wonkiness. I want to talk about one of those, and that's the vision. And that's what you guys have it in front of you, is the vision traction organizer. So that is what we call 8 questions to this for businesses. And this is what it looks like. So for you, those of you that are online, don't have this, this is what the people here in the audience have. And so again, when we use this for businesses, we look at core values, core focus. What does it look like that they're going to be in 10 years? And what does it look like as a 3-year picture and making that come to life? So that's the vision side. And then the traction side is where the rubber hits the road. What does it look like for me in 1 year? What are my 3 to 7 biggest goals? What are my rocks? We talk about those with quarters. So you guys remember the whole rocks and the pebble and the sand. If you add the rocks in first, pebbles, sand, water, it all fits. Do it in the opposite order, you don't get it done. So those are what we mean in the world of EOS as rocks. And then we have an issues list. So what does this mean to you guys that are maybe not in business? And what does that kind of come about? So the other one is the personal plan that's in there. So similar setup. Core values of the household, right? Where are we going in the household? So we talk about getting organizations vision, traction, healthy. So vision, getting everybody 100% on the same page of where they're going and how they get there. That's pretty darn good for a household. I'll take that. My kids were on board of where we were going and how we were going to get there. I'd be really excited, right? And then also traction, right? So instilling discipline and accountability in an organization. Same thing as your family, right? I've told you to empty the dishwasher, right? Discipline and accountability in there. And then getting healthy teams, right? So cohesive, functioning, operating teams. And again, the same thing as your family. My brother and I, if we had this plan back in the day, probably would have done us wonders. We did not get along, and we were not on the same page, and we were not healthy and cohesive. Therefore, my mother was not healthy and cohesive. She was battling the two of us, always saying, "You two stop fighting." So how could we have used this to bring together the family? So again, this is the one-year plan, same thing. One-year plan rocks and issues list. So I know if you noticed online, I did change some things, and we'll break them down into each one. So core focus is passions, maybe as far as a family is concerned, right? So we don't have a focus of what we're doing for business. So where did it stop? There it goes. So core values, we would keep the same. So what are the 3 to 5 core values in your house or your organization that define who you are, right? So the Rotary is obviously service before self, right? Service before self? Service above self. Thank you very much for the correction. Thank you. And so the same thing as your family, right? So what are your core values of your family? What are the core values of your organization? And then for an organization, it's how you hire, it's how you review and how you terminate based on that value. It's truly who you are. And they're not aspirational. So as a core value as a family, it's saying we all must get along 100% of the time. Yeah, right. Right? I mean, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen in an organization either, right? So those are aspirational core values. So truly where you are at the core. And then for businesses, we talk about a core focus. So what is your why? So Simon Sinek, start with why. That is the purpose, cause, or passion that you may have in an organization. What is your why? And then your niche is your what. So an overhead door company may have, I want to create value to a house as well as keeping valuables safe. It could be windows, it could be an alarm system, right? And then their niche is an overhead door company, and that's what we offer, right? So really getting to the why. For the family, I would say, what is our purpose, right? So what are we really here for, right? If we're a faith-based family or a service-based family, our purpose maybe we want to give back a certain amount of money, whatever that might be. And getting everybody on board with that and understanding what that means to be a part of the family like that. And then our 10-year target for organizations, if you're in that realm, is your BHAG. So big, hairy, audacious goal. Almost can't see it, right? And what it's going to be like. The world of EOS, we have 13,000 companies running on EOS. In 2030, we want to have 100,000 companies running on EOS. I can only bring 200 companies in 10 years. I'm not sure how we're going to do that, but the visionary team has it, right? So that's our big, hairy, audacious goal that we want to get it. For a family, what's your 10-year vision? Is it to be completely out of debt? It is to buy a second vacation home so we can be somewhere else during the summers or during the winters, right? What is that 10-year vision for a family? And then you start to have these family conversations about how everybody's contributing. So if your son or daughter wants $200 pair of jeans, which I know that there are $200 and plus pairs of jeans, you could say we're trying to get out of debt. That is not helping us, right? And so there's a conversation and a correlation between what you're trying to do as adults in the family to get the kids on board to the vision or the mission. And then we do normally a marketing strategy in business. We talk about geographic, psychographics, demographics of who you are, where you're going after, and things of that sort. A proven process. What does it look like from day one that someone walks into your door to the time that they're a kind of long-term trusted customer of yours? Again, for a person, it looks like this. I call it a giving strategy. And so you can just list, those aren't real, clearly, just list your giving strategy, right? So also, again, with Rotary, it's what you do. It's part of your lives. You wouldn't be a part of Rotary if you weren't. And so what is that giving strategy? For me, I also call it a lifetime wish list. So I actually split it in half. The first 10 is my giving strategy, and then my second 10 is my wish list, right? Bucket list, some things like that, right? So it could be travel bucket list, it could be money bucket list, it could be whatever, you know, kind of lifetime wish list you want, right? To get off of diabetes, drugs, whatever that might be, right? Those are the big long-term vision from there. And then just like with businesses, we have a 3-year picture. So where do we want to be as a family in 3 years from now? So in business, we talk about revenue, profit, measurable. That doesn't translate in a household. So the future date is income, net worth. It can be measurables, cash equivalents. So just to translate that one. But the most important part of this 3-year picture is what does it look like? So for employees, if you want to say you want to go from 3 million to 10 million, most employees don't jive with that. They don't know what that means to them. They honestly think as business owners, you're just going to go out and buy a Lear jet because they think you make all that money, right? So we don't, that's not true, right? We all know that. But really, what does it look like? So if you're going from 3 million to 10 million, maybe we want to have a satellite office in Chicago. Maybe we want to have 600 employees instead of 300 employees, whatever that might be. They see that opening for growth. So that's how they relate to it. They don't relate to numbers as we do as business owners. They relate much toward what it looks like. So the same thing with your family. If you want to have, they won't relate, your kids won't relate to net income and net worth. They don't get that. But maybe it is a 3-year picture that we do want to have that vacation home. Maybe it is that we understand we want to be out of debt, or we want to send your brother off to college, right? Whatever those things are, again, make it come to life, but then it gets bought into it, right? And then if we flip over that sheet of paper that you do have, or what it looks like online, is the 1-year plan, rocks, and issues list. You can flip it over or fold it in half if you have the 2-pager or the slick one that's there. And then again, for businesses, the 1-year plan, the 1-year plan is revenue, profit, measurables, just like it was on a 3-year, but we get really gritty. We get really down to earth. What are the 3 to 7 goals that you want the organization to have that's going to have you reach that profitability or that revenue? But for a family, it looks like this, the same top, right? Income, net worth, cash values. And then what are the goals for the year, right? Like sometimes it's, I just want you to complete 7th grade. Like sometimes that's hard, right? They got some kids that are struggling, especially with online learning. I want my kids to be mentally healthy, right? There's a whole dilemma right now with kids going through and not being with their friends and online and all that. So what does that look like? And so again, putting that to the family, again, they don't always relate about the money part, but they definitely relate about how that means, what that means to them. You know, if your one child wants to go to a very expensive camp for the summer, then put it on there and then realize that during the year, if they want expensive things, you say, here's the goals. If you want those expensive things now, I can't do that then. And so there's a correlation to what they're trying to have done to what they really want as a big picture, as a goal, as a family. And then rocks, as we call it, for the next 90 days, again, for business, revenue, profit, measurables. And then what are the rocks? What are those big priorities, like we said, talked about in the canister, right? Rocks in first, that we must get to get that revenue for that 90 days. But you also start to notice there's a who. So building in that accountability and discipline. And so I would encourage this for families as well. Again, it'll say the same things. And then the rocks for the quarter is, you know, we were just talking to Erin, and her child is starting to learn to drive. Right? So in this next rock, if they were close enough, I don't think they are, Erin, but we want you to get your driver's license, right? And so what does that mean for them to get the driver's license? Well, I have to go to driver's ed. Well, I have to get behind the wheel 14 times. My kids aren't that, you know, go there yet anyway, but whatever that looks like, what does it look? And so drawing that picture out. And so they are already involved in the family's goals for the year. I would say that if that's a goal and then they have younger children, then the goal is that you could drive your younger children everywhere. Erin is now released of some time, right? But they won't get that part anyway, but that's a goal. That's a goal for you, Erin, is to get that that happening for you. Pardon?
It'll happen in August.
It'll happen in August. Okay, so we're a few rocks out, we're a few quarters out, but we could put it in there for sure. And then the issues list, again, doesn't translate to business or to personal, but issues list is a place to capture those issues that have and that come up. Right? So, oh my goodness, we really need a CRM. We can't deal with that right now. And then as owners, we wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and going, oh, what did I think of? I thought of a really thing that I really needed. We stick it on this spot and just have a spot. I have a piece of paper right next to my desk. When I wake up at 2 in the morning, I write it there and then I transfer it to my issues list. That doesn't translate to a personal world. So I just call it needs resolution list. So my brother and I would be on this list every single time, all the time, right? We need to resolve this fighting between these two and why they don't get along. It still exists. So unfortunately, we just don't see eye to eye, but I still love him and I would do anything for him dearly. We're just not the same at all. And then how do we prioritize that as a family, right? And so your kids think that of course they have to be the first one to be prioritized. That's not how it goes. As a family, how do we identify what is the most important thing that we should solve? And then how do we implement that into the rocks or the 1-year plan or the 3-year picture if it takes that long to truly implement that, right? So if needs resolution is we got to start a college fund for our child and he's already 10, we got to hurry that up as far as more sticks in the rocks, maybe more things in the 1 year, definitely a lot in the 3-year, to be able to get to them to have, you know, some funds in their college fund, some money in their college fund by the time they're ready to go. So that is the 8 questions, but I say this, and I mean this respectfully, it's not worth the paper it's printed on, organizationally or personally, if it's not shared by all. And so what we challenge our organizations to do is have quarterly state of the company meetings and share all of this. And I know there's some CEOs or visionaries in the building that might be saying, I'm not sharing my revenue and my profit. In the absence of information, they make up stuff. And so if they think that you're a $3 million company, they are making up that you take home $2 million. I promise, ask them, right? Where it's probably about 250,000. Right? They don't really know. And so as a family, the same way, your kids don't really realize. They think that, you know, dad's got a new car, mom's got a new car, and they have clothes on their back, that there's money just flying, right? They think it grows on trees, right? I remember that, sign me up. That's what I thought as a kid. And so shared by all, and how do you get them involved in the whole vision of this organization or this family that you want to be a part of? So here's a fact. 7 times before kids, for sure, employees, for sure, hear you the first time. 7 times before they hear you the first time. And so if you have told, or you have the thought, which I have, I've been a manager of many, and I said, I already told Janice this, if there's a Janice in the room, I'm just kidding. I just made it up. Janice this 3 times, and I'm frustrated. I got 4 more times to go. So change your mindset. And we arguably say that that 7 times is getting a little worse, because we're multitasking on phones, we're doing different things, we're binging, and you know, we've got Zoom going on, we've got a phone call, whatever, right? So we say that's probably getting a little worse over time as it comes. So just change your mindset a little bit for your kids and for your employees 7 times before they hear you the first time. And then again, I talked a little bit about quarterly family conversations, quarterly state of the companies, and that they're all involved in this whole vision and where we're going and how we're going to get there. Having them part of it and engaged in it, it really helps with that. I know that Eric had introduced me. We deal with people issues. This is one of the biggest people issues and the people solvers right now, is that if we can communicate a lot better and a lot more openly with our staff, we see, I have a lot of customers that they're not having an employee issue at all. Like probably more than half, if I really think about it. I can probably get a statistic, but more than half of them aren't. And because they have great cultures, they have great communication, they're hiring good people, right? So it's all about that. And so that's a really interesting statistic we don't often hear about in the news, is we hear about all the staffing issues. But sometimes it's more about culture. Sometimes it's more about communication, engagement, having openings for them to go through. And same thing as your family, as your kids, is how do we get them involved? How do they see where their future is, as opposed to just, I told you so, right? I remember that as a family, I told you so. Doesn't fly with me now. I was actually just out in Utah skiing with my father and my mother, and he goes, because I told you so. And I go, I am 49 years old and that does not work anymore. He tried. And so credit to him to try that. But right, so how do we get them engaged in those conversations? So what we joke around is this is part of this model, right? It shows you the 6 of them. Vision is one part of those components, of one of the 6 components. And that's what we talk about, being 100% strong. And as an organization, 100% is utopia, right? It doesn't happen even as a family. We celebrate 80, we strive for 100. There are days where we hit 100, there are days that we're at 60, but we keep that kind of engine running and try to get to 80% strong, or celebrate 80% strong, and strive for 80% strong and celebrate 100% strong. So that is the end of my presentation. I did pretty darn good on timing. I think I'm 1 minute over, but Q&A for if anybody wants to do that. Oops. And if you, again, you guys that are out on Zoom, if you need those documents, by all means, again, send me an email and I will get that to you for sure. Again, I will not add you to any list. It doesn't exist in my world. So.
Thank you. If anybody has any questions,
I need to go there.
So put that there. And if you would just repeat the questions as they come to you. I will start off by asking, how did you get what inspired you to do?
So you had introduced me so nicely and say that I'm a fixer. I am absolutely. Honestly, it was years of job jumping. And so I kept jumping jobs, and I thought it was just because I was striving for money, or I realized that I see problems and that I want to be a part of that change. And I think that's something that the next generation, I'm an Xer, so the millennials are really pushing that envelope. They want to be a part of that change. And I think that's what it made it for me. And then I went to go work as a head of organizational development, so change management kind of a stuff for a ultimately 450 beer, wine, and liquor distributor company. And they were running on this EOS system. And I was like, oh my God, it has everything that I can solve. Not even in our department. We had a VP of operations that they were saying, hey, Michelle, you got to do training for the operations department. And I said, it's not training, it's him. And this system let me do it. And so then I go, I gave them a 2-year notice. And I said, at some point I'm going to be gone. Here's my 2 years notice. And I did. And I went to so I can do this for a ton of other companies. And so 25 other companies right now that I can help instead of just one. So that kind of gave me the strive. So is there a version of this system, which I am familiar with, tailored for nonprofits or even municipal corporations, local government agencies, for instance? So yes, it's the same system, right? So we're a firm believer that any nonprofit and or municipal should run like a business. And so if it doesn't, EOS is not the system for you. And I'm very frank and very honest with that. Sometimes nonprofits, which is wonderful, is made up of all volunteers. And if those volunteers can't get on the same page, it just won't work, right? It really has to be a part of that. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? So everything that I shared. So to answer your question, if the local government or if the nonprofit is absolutely vision driven and that this resonates with you, then we use the same process. We don't change it. We don't change it for a $2 million company or a $100 million company. It's the same all the way through there. That's that consistency. So let me just scroll down and see. Okay, no more online. Any, yes? Oh, can I go to the gentleman in the back? Oh, thank you. Yes, sir.
Very impressive presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm working in the area of economic development for Alberta County, okay. And I'm in touch with quite a few manufacturers. Do you have a relationship with this accomplish or
Yes, I definitely can. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Thank you very much. So the question was, do I have references that the gentleman, and I don't know your names because I'm not a member, but the gentleman asked that he does some economic development here in ELKR, and that he runs into a lot of manufacturers that might need this. And so would I supply some references? So yes, I can absolutely supply some references. Sadly and weirdly, because Michigan, Indiana is so much manufacturing, I do not have a manufacturer. It doesn't matter. We're definitely agnostic. It won't matter. Just as I said, we use the same system for a nonprofit, a municipality, a $2 million and a $12 million company. It won't matter. But I would happily give you some references. I'm actually, hopefully, knock on wood, getting a client in Edwardsburg here as soon as I leave you guys. So I'm headed off that way. So it brings me down and around this area a little bit closer than South Haven, Michigan. So please see me afterwards. I'll give you a card and let's talk. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Can I do that? Yes, ma'am.
I think if people wanted to have a big look into this, they could see the other things, this book, Traction.
Correct.
And it tells about all of this. But really, to your point, you need an implementer that holds your feet to the fire and assuming that's what you do.
It is what I do. So yes, and I didn't want to sell from the podium because it's not my thing. I wanted to help first, right? So it's kind of that mentality of mine. But thank you very much. Yes, there's a book out there called Traction. If anybody wants it, I have like hundreds. I actually have 4 in my car. I didn't bring them in for whatever reason. I travel with them all over. You know, you're once a salesman, always a salesman. So if you want it, I will happily give you one. And yeah, it's a great thing. But yeah, I mean, we think it is. So if you self-implement, the numbers are usually about 4 years for you to solve it. And to get all the way through to mastery is what we call it. With an implementer, it takes about 2. So, but it costs money. So thank you for that. Yes, sir.
What's the average length of time you work into your process with the organization?
Yeah, so we usually 2 years. And so we have no contracts. So we have actually a guarantee in place. I do full session days with my clients. And if I do not deliver value, they don't pay me. Full stop. Right? So we don't have contracts. We say the road or the journey to mastery is 2 years. It's a matter of, for us, the definition of mastery is when they can teach their entire staff and migrate all the disciplines and tools through their entire staff. So I work with the leadership team. All of the skills will then go through the entire organization. And I don't want to jump into that, but it usually takes about 2 years. Smaller companies, usually around that 2 million, 10 employees, 20 employees, sometimes is a year and a half. And then, I mean, we have customers, I don't have any, but some of our guys have had their customers for 12 years. They just want us to run their quarterly meetings so they can be in the meeting, and we're facilitating arguments, we're facilitating the time, we're facilitating the agenda, right? And so they like us just there as facilitators and no longer teaching. They run their own thing, but we just step in there. So usually 2 years. Thank you. Yes.
Is there one area, you mentioned this near the end, you talked about culture and organizations you talk with. A lot of them don't have issues with culture. Were you being facetious when you said that? Or that's you found that to be true?
True. So the question was, I said something about half of my companies, they don't have people issues. I mean, we all have just regular people issues, but not this mass resignation that seems to be happening, or that is happening, not seems, it is happening. So it's definitely industry. So we see a lot of it with our restaurant customers. You definitely are seeing turnover, right? For some of them, we're having part-time or maybe college students. Yes, definitely part-time, or definitely some turnover issues. Right now, I don't have any of those clients with me. So all of mine are service, asbestos remediation, home theater and alarm company, and then arbor, or like a tree company, arborists. And so they're not having any problem, even the arborists, which you would think, but they're not having any problem. So no, not facetious at all. So yes. Any other questions from, I don't have any more online. Any other questions from the audience? Thank you for being so gracious. It was really appreciated.
And everyone, I know that Michelle will hang around for a few minutes if you have questions. And if anyone has questions from online too, if you didn't get her email address, maybe we could put it in the chat, and then you could do that. We'll do that right as we get going here. I also just wanted to thank you for kind of adding the personal aspect of it too. I know that everyone here and online, we got a lot of successful people. By virtue of having extra to give of themselves, of their spirit and their community, you've got a lot of those successful folks here. But I personally appreciate hearing that we should all be doing this more in our home lives too, because we tend to overlook those, and a lot of folks do. Thank you so much. This club, extremely visionary, and about 15 years ago, decided that they were going to start a botanic garden. And so they started a little place called Wellfield Botanic Gardens. It last year had close to 100,000 guests and is becoming a real world-class place. People sitting in this room were on the steering committee, one of them right there, his name is Eric, and I'm the executive director there. We would like to give you some passes, and I know you're from South Haven. I go to South Haven frequently, so I hope you can make it down to ELKR to come check that out. Wait till the flowers. Yeah, yes. And I have to tell everybody, I really am thinking more about this, in strategic planning, and also a lot of you have come to know me a little bit, and you know that I do strive to try to get better at what I do. And so I have taken to asking not-for-profit leaders, what is their secret? What is the secret that makes them successful? You know, I go to these people and even, you know, business owners here in town, and I've talked to a lot of them. You know, interestingly, they all say very similar. They almost always say the same thing. You know what that secret is? It's, who are you and how the hell did you get in my house? Dang, rough crowd. Okay, with that, I get to control the meeting and we're done. Rotarians, go out and have a great week. We'll see you next week. Have a good one. Michelle's gonna put her address here in the chat for those of you online who need it. Take care, bye-bye. Oh yes. Go ahead. By the way, everyone, there is food. Take food for lunch and dinner or breakfast tomorrow. Go back to the back table, buy the TV, grab some food. Thin attendance today. I tried to give him that. I literally took it to this morning. I didn't think try by the end of the week.